So it talks about some of the biggest companies in the world, and here you go. So you have the world's silver, cryptocurrency. The world's fastest growing asset class is cryptocurrency, but even Bitcoin looks tiny in the grand scheme of things when compared to the global markets. So this was when Bitcoin was at 100 billion and the rest was 45 billion. Ethereum was at 28 billion. Oh, how much things have changed since then. But you can see silver's value, but the biggest companies in the world are, well, the biggest companies, right? Apple is the world's largest company, public company by market capitalization, worth $807 billion at the time of this article, right? So that would mean that Apple has a valuation that's more as a company than the entire cryptocurrency market, right? So you can see how the entire cryptocurrency market, if it were to have several companies that grow in scale to that kind of influence that an Apple or a Facebook or Microsoft has, the cryptocurrency market would expand, right? Now, that's going to take years because Apple's been around since, I want to say the 80s or 90s, really. I know that back in the 80s, you could own an Apple computer, right? A Macintosh. So we know Microsoft's been around for a while. Alphabet being Google. Facebook is actually a new millennia company, so it's fairly new. Amazon right there at the cusp. So it does take time, guys, for the market to grow and companies to establish themselves. The 50 richest people, they make up $1.9 trillion, right? So that's just that's the world's richest people. Okay? California's GDP is worth 2.9 trillion. So the state of California has a $2.9 trillion market cap. So do you mean to tell me that you don't think that the cryptocurrency market with all these projects globally will make up the same market capitalization of, say, the state of California? Well, we don't know for a fact, but you can see how as you start to analyze the size of certain things, you can get an idea of how big this could get, right? Federal Reserve balance sheet, 4.5 trillion. Currency, coins and banknotes. The total of all the world's coins and banknotes is roughly 7.6 trillion. So if you take all the paper money and coins and you put them all into a pot, that's 7.6 trillion. Now, the world's gold is estimated to be 7.7 trillion, right? So there's $7.7 trillion in gold. They say Bitcoin's the new gold, digital gold. So is it possible to suggest that if they're going to draw that comparison, that they might as well just say, well, give Bitcoin a valuation in 10 to 20 years, or a leading currency, cryptocurrency, the store of value in digital currency, that valuation of $7.7 trillion. And you can see, I mean, Bitcoin at $7.7 trillion would be, man, we'd have to do the math on that, but you basically just take the total supply, the circulating supply, or the total supply, and calculate that number into the market cap, 7.7 trillion in this case. So if you want to do the math, 21 million divided by 7.7 trillion, and there's your math. I don't have that in front of me, but that's how you would calculate that. Then if you look at stock markets, for example, right? So you have $73 trillion in global stock markets. So let's just, for discussion's sake, let's say that cryptocurrency market could achieve the same valuation as the stock markets in 20, 30 years' time, right? That would give the cryptocurrency market, or cryptocurrency, because cryptocurrency is a global dynamic, right? Whereas stock markets, as you can see, United States, United Kingdom, Japan, China, Euro, and then the rest of the world, right? So you can see how it's possible, but it would take time to mature. Like they say, we're in the first inning of this thing here. Many have said we're not even in the second inning yet. You know, baseball, they got 9 innings, right? So, not to say that the stock market will go away, but one thing that you can anticipate is new wealth creation. There's always new wealth that happens. That's how you increase the money supply, whether it's through inflation or just new wealth creation. That's what it's called, wealth creation. So then, if you look at the narrow money supply, world's easily accessible money, that's 36.8 trillion. You have broad money, 90.4 trillion. And then you have the global debt, which is a whole nother circumstance all in of itself, which is 215 trillion. So how does the money supply keep up with the debt, right? If there's more debt than there is value or wealth in circulation. Then you have global real estate. So now global real estate is probably in line with some of that debt, but 217 trillion. So that's a physical world asset. Then you have the derivative market. The low end estimate of the size of the scope of global derivatives market is 544 trillion on a net notional contract basis. So if you don't know what a derivative is, they put it right here. A derivative is a contract between two or more parties that derives its value from the performance of an underlying asset, index, or entity. Examples of derivatives: futures contracts, you guys now know what that is. Forward contracts, options, warrants, swaps. So here's how we reach the low end estimate of 544 trillion. The high end estimate of the value of all derivative contract is as high as 1.2 quadrillion. So when we're really analyzing where this cryptocurrency valuation can go, we don't know for a fact, but we do know that we can measure it against certain things to get an idea of a projection, right? Now, this isn't to suggest that it will reach any of these valuations, but we do know that right here, it's really just a small fish in a big pond. And for many, they believe that cryptocurrency will become a big fish in the big pond. Not the whole pond. Cryptocurrency, we don't anticipate cryptocurrency to make up the whole pond, but you can suggest that it does hold a possibility to make up some of that that volume, right? So I wanted to explore some other things with you. Now, here's an interesting point that we should make. 30% of millennials would rather invest in cryptocurrency. Here are three tips to help you do it smarter. So you can read this on Forbes, but what I wanted to point out in this article here is that 30% of millennials would actually rather invest in cryptocurrency. Now, the interesting thing about that is, majority of the time, from my experience, is that a millennial, when they first hear about Bitcoin, they say, "What is it? Ah, no thanks." But then when they actually look into it, they prefer it over fiat. So the fact that 30% at this rate, I would say that probably 30%, maybe a little bit more than that, even know about what cryptocurrency or Bitcoin is in detail. And in detail is basically, have they actually taken the time to research it, spend an hour to understand it, right? So what I'm suggesting here is that if there's already 30% of the millennials are preferring it, just imagine how that number will increase over time as some of the younger kids now grow up and get more into cryptocurrency. So it's going to become more fashionable, more, the use case is going to continue to rise with this cryptocurrency stuff as it continues to pick up, would be the anticipation. So this is where you have people on the Motley Fool saying, could the price of Bitcoin go to 1 million? You know, like they're pointing out, there are some legislations that have come up. We've seen some other areas of FUD that have come up, calming the fears of the blockchain. The underlying technology behind Bitcoin could be split, creating two separate currencies. So theoretically, yes, although consider what that would mean. As of writing this, there are approximately 16.7 trillion Bitcoins in circulation. A price of 1 million each would translate to a total value of 16.7 trillion for all the Bitcoins in existence. Currently, the total value of Bitcoin is about 318 billion. Meanwhile, the money supply M2, which includes all physical currency, demand deposit savings accounts, and money market accounts, is about 13.5 trillion. So you can see this. The global money supply is estimated to be about 68.7 trillion, expressed in US dollars. My point is that while Bitcoin would have to work a little to become a major player in the global currency market, the total Bitcoin market value at 1 million each isn't as an outlandish amount of money. And you've heard that put out where people have suggested that Bitcoin could potentially reach $1 million, right? Simply put, widespread mainstream adoption acceptance is what would need to happen before Bitcoin could reach the $1 million mark. Obviously, the market capitalization of Bitcoin would have to also go up, meaning there would have to be a higher demand for it. So this just kind of puts it out there for some of you guys to consider some ideas that have been put out there and suggested before. This was put out on May 25th, updated on December 15th, 2017. And if we just look at one more point that I want to touch on. So how capitalism and globalization have made the world a better place. So cryptocurrency being used to empower countries that are called developing countries where wealth has been suppressed to some degree to the masses. So cryptocurrency has the ability to put more wealth into people's hands than any other currency that has existed up until this moment. At least that would be the anticipation. And more people are getting clued into the global community through globalization. And it appears as though cryptocurrency is a better solution than what fiat has been. Because if it was fiat, it would have already happened. But because fiat does not have that potential to get the inclusion of the global market, it's going to look like cryptocurrency is the real deal to be able to pull that off, assuming that it doesn't get overly regulated in a way that slows things down. There's also, the cryptocurrency as a whole still has some growing to do, obviously, and we've got some growing pains to go through as we've had with the market slow down and the correction that ran sideways. That's allowing the engine to kind of cool down and get a more stable market before the next run. When that comes, we don't know, right? So this really just kind of went over a bunch of different points. You see, can Bitcoin's first felon help make cryptocurrency a $1 trillion market? That was written back in June 26, 2017, back when Bitcoin was really low, right? So I hope this puts some things into perspective about the future projections of what's possible for cryptocurrency, how it stacks up against the global forex, the global money supply, and we'll see. It's definitely looking like a bright future. So I told you I'd look back I'd put this out there. In 2 months, we will look back on this day and say what? What will you say? What will you say in 2 months? Well, let's see what people have said. So, I'd wish I broke my own rule of not putting any more fiat in it. I did a right decision to not sell my Tron. All right. Strong hand right there. Why didn't I invest more? Oh God, why didn't I sell? Oh. Okay. I should have had me a V8. Oh yeah, I like that one. Nobody would have guessed this. Oh yeah. Well, there, that's rational. Is Tron ever going to get above 10 cents? Well, fudge. I wish I had more money to buy Neo. I wish I sold. Whoa. Glad I bought the dip. Okay. Thank God, hold. Should have hold. Wish I had more money to buy more. Damn, I should have bought more cryptos. I wonder what my portfolio looks like. Not checking for a few months now. Can't be dealing with all that. Okay. So you get a lot of different responses. You can go through that on our channel on our Twitter at altcoinbuzz.io. This is something kind of cool. Hodl, altcoin Buzz Aldrin. If you don't know who Buzz Aldrin is, he's an astronaut from back in the NASA heydays. And then, yeah. So, hope you guys are doing great. Look forward to hearing from you guys in the comments. Let me know about what you anticipate the cryptocurrency possibilities are for the market capitalization. Do you think it's 5 trillion? Do you think it's 1 trillion? Do you think it's going to be 10 trillion? I mean, where do you see this thing? I don't know, let's say in 5 years. Where do you see cryptocurrency's market share in 5 years?